The human named Daniel Hale stood in the center of the crystal hall, unsure if he was meant to speak, bow, or simply wait. The hall shimmered with soft blue light, reflected through glass-like walls that curved as if grown, not built. Alien music hummed in the background, low and calm, like distant waves against a shore he had never seen. He had been on the starship Aurora's wing for 2 weeks, but he still could not get used to the way everything here felt alive. Across from him stood Princess Leora of the Alren Dominion. She was tall, graceful, and unlike any being he had ever met. Her skin gave off a faint glow, not harsh, but warm, like moonlight trapped beneath the surface. Her eyes were huge and silver blue, almost too expressive, like they could read every thought someone failed to hide. She looked fragile. But Daniel had seen how strong her people were. They moved with a power he could only compare to dancers who trained their bodies all their lives. And this princess, this alien princess, was staring directly at him. Daniel wasn't sure how he ended up here. A science escort mission had turned into political chaos after a sabotage attack. The Alren's royal ship lost its main engineering crew. Daniel had volunteered to help repair the fusion conduits because he was the closest trained engineer at the time. He expected nothing more than a handshake from the captain. Instead, the princess herself requested to see him. The message delivered by the guards had been simple. "The princess wishes to thank you personally." Nothing about this felt personal thank you, simple. Princess Leora took one slow step forward. The guards behind her bowed and moved back, giving her space. Daniel felt the air shift as she approached. Something in her people's biology created faint vibrations when they stood close, like a hidden heartbeat echoing between them. When she reached him, she spoke softly. "Human Daniel," she said in her delicate accent, "you saved my people's lives today." He tried not to swallow too loudly. "I only fixed a conduit, Your Highness." "You prevented a core breach," she corrected. "You did not retreat when even my elite guards stepped back." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, someone had to get in there before the whole deck melted." This made her smile. A small one, but more real than anything he had seen from the formal members of her court. "Humans," she said, almost to herself. "Your courage is different. Reckless, but pure." He didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to royalty praising him. Back on Earth, he was just a mid-grade engineer who barely passed his academy exams. Nothing special. The princess stepped even closer. "May I see your hands?" Daniel blinked, unsure, but slowly raised them. She reached forward and gently took his right hand in both of hers. Her skin felt warm, far warmer than any human's. A pulse traveled through her touch, almost like an emotion transferred physically. Her eyes softened. "So small compared to ours," she whispered, "yet strong enough to hold a failing star core together." Daniel laughed under his breath. "I'm not sure it was that dramatic." "To us, it was," she said. For a long moment, she held his hand, studying it like it was a rare artifact. Daniel felt his heart beat louder than he wanted it to. He wasn't used to anyone, let alone a princess, being this close, this focused on him. Then something changed in her expression. Small, careful, hesitant. She looked up at him and took a slow breath. Her silver blue eyes shimmered as if she was afraid of something. "Human Daniel," she said softly, "may I ask you something personal?" His voice caught, but he forced himself to speak. "Of course." She lowered her voice, as if worried someone might overhear even though the hall was empty besides them. "On my world, in my language." She paused, searching for the right words. "There is a phrase we say when we wish to ask someone to stay with us during the night cycle. Not as a ritual of bonding, not in a intimate way, Her cheeks glowed faintly brighter, and Daniel realized she was embarrassed. It is simply a request for protection, a gesture of trust. Daniel nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. But she still looked nervous. When I practiced the human translation, she continued, my advisors assured me the phrase was harmless. But I am not certain. Human languages have strange turns. Daniel tried not to smile. Yeah, we do. So when she gently squeezed his hand and whispered the words, he immediately understood why she was unsure. Will you bed with me? She said. Daniel froze. His brain skipped like a broken engine. She looked up at him hopefully, waiting for his answer, with absolutely no idea what those words meant in English to a human's ears. For one single fragile moment, Daniel wondered how the universe had allowed him to be in this situation. But then he reminded himself she was trusting him. She was asking for something innocent. Not what the phrase suggested. He cleared his throat and spoke carefully. Princess, in human English, that phrase means something very different. Something intimate. Her eyes widened in alarm. Intimate? As in? She cut herself off, her glowing cheeks brightening with panic. I did not mean that. I did not intend, oh, stars. Is this offensive to your people? Daniel shook his head quickly. No, it's all right. It's just a misunderstanding. She slowly released a breath, shoulders relaxing. Then, I request the innocent meaning. Will you stay with me? My people sense danger nearby. I do not wish to face the night cycle without someone I trust. Daniel looked around the hall. He knew long shifts awaited him back in the engineering bay, but this wasn't about rest or comfort. It was about fear. The Alren ship had already been attacked once. Saboteur signals were still not fully traced. Someone might attempt another strike, and the princess, despite her grace and authority, was alone. Daniel nodded. I'll stay with you. I'll keep watch. Relief washed over her face like a soft glow spreading through her skin. Thank you, Daniel. She guided him out of the hall and into a private corridor that curved downward, lit by the soft blue lights of her people's architecture. The walls changed texture as they walked, responding to their presence. Daniel still felt like he was walking inside a breathing creature. The Alren liked living environments, organic shapes, things that grew instead of being assembled. As they moved deeper into the royal wing, she spoke in a quiet voice. My guards do not trust easily. But today, they trusted you enough to step aside when you reached the conduit. That is rare. Humans must have a gift. Something in your kind creates certainty in others. Daniel chuckled. Honestly, I think humans are just too stubborn to step back. Perhaps stubbornness is another form of courage, she said. They reached her private chambers. Daniel hesitated at the entrance. Everything inside glowed in soft shades of lavender and blue, patterns drifting across the walls like moving galaxies. A bed floated slightly above the ground, held up by living tendrils that shifted with the rhythm of her breath. Sit where you are comfortable, she said. You do not have to be close. Just present. Daniel nodded and sat on a crystal-like seat at the side of her room. The princess stepped onto her floating bed and curled her long limbs gracefully, like a creature made of starlight more than flesh. After a moment, she looked at him again. Daniel, she whispered, you are not afraid. He shrugged. I've seen worse. I grew up in a rough part of Earth. Loud nights, bad neighbors, occasional danger. I learned to keep calm. To keep others calm, she corrected softly. Humans hold storms inside but choose not to release them. Daniel wasn't sure anyone had ever described him like that. Minutes passed quietly. The room hummed with a soft warmth. The ship's pulse echoed through the floor. Daniel watched the door, alert. The princess watched him, trusting. Then she whispered again. Daniel, may I ask another question? Sure. Why did you help us today? You did not know my people. You did not owe us anything. He thought for a moment. Because somebody needed help. That's it. Humans don't always need a reason to do the right thing. Princess Leora stared at him as if she were seeing something new, something rare. That, she said with a trembling voice, is why I asked you to stay. And while Daniel guarded her through the quiet hours, neither of them knew that the saboteur who caused the attack was already moving again, this time much closer than either expected. Daniel stayed awake through the quiet hours of the Al-Ren night cycle, sitting near the entrance of Princess Leora's chamber. The room was peaceful, glowing with soft waves of blue and lavender light that followed the princess's breathing. Daniel could hear her gentle heartbeat, somehow amplified by the living structures of the ship. It reminded him of a lullaby he once heard as a child. Still, he did not relax. His eyes stayed alert. Somewhere on this ship, a saboteur was still hiding. He listened for footsteps, whispers, anything unusual. But the only sound was the low hum of the starship engines far below. The princess lay curled on her floating bed, shining softly like a drifting lantern. Even when she slept, her glow changed color with her dreams. Sometimes pale silver, sometimes warm pink, sometimes a faint gold that looked almost like sunrise. Daniel found himself watching her for longer than he meant to. She seemed too peaceful for someone living under threat, too gentle for someone who carried the title of royal heir. He wondered what kind of pressure her people put on her, what she had seen in her young life, what she feared that made her ask him to stay. Suddenly, her glow flickered. Her breath caught. Daniel stood immediately, stepping closer. Princess? Are you awake? Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked, her silver-blue gaze confused for a moment, as if waking from a deep dream. Then she sighed softly. I am fine. Just a memory. He felt a strange worry rise inside him. A bad one? She sat up, letting her legs hang off the side of the floating bed. The living tendrils adjusted to support her weight. Her glow pulsed weakly. When our ship was attacked last cycle, I felt the explosion before anyone else. My people sense energy in a way humans do not. When something breaks in the heart of our vessel, we feel it, like a tear inside us. Daniel frowned. That sounds painful. It was. She folded her hands together. I thought our end had come, and when I saw you run toward the failing conduit, I expected your small human form to vanish in the blast. She hesitated. But you did not. You did what even my trained warriors would not. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. It wasn't bravery. It was just fast thinking. Her eyes softened. Humans always call their courage something smaller so it does not frighten others. He wasn't sure what to say to that. Before he could respond, the door trembled slightly. A nearly invisible ripple passed across its surface. Daniel stepped in front of the princess without thinking, body tense. Did you hear that? Princess Leora rose from the bed, alert. Yes. Daniel moved closer, listening. At first, nothing. Then a soft click. Not loud, but unnatural. The Al-Ren doors did not make mechanical locking sounds. They moved like living skin responding to command. This sound was different. Someone was trying to override the entrance. The princess inhaled sharply. They are here, Daniel whispered. Get behind something. Stay low. She nodded and moved behind a cluster of tall crystal structures that grew from the floor like frozen trees. Her glow dimmed, her body crouching low. Daniel took a slow breath. He had no weapon, no armor. Nothing except his hands and whatever courage he could gather. But humans had survived far worse with far less. That was the nature of his species. The door pulsed again. Then it began to open. A thin, dark figure slipped inside. Not tall like the Al-Ren guards, not glowing, wrapped in a suit that absorbed the room's light instead of reflecting it. The figure moved with eerie silence, scanning the room slowly, searching. Daniel stepped forward, blocking the view of the princess. The intruder froze. For a moment, neither spoke. The only movement was the shifting lights on the walls. Then the intruder reached for his side, pulling out a small device. It wasn't a gun, at least not any kind Daniel recognized. Instead, it hummed low, vibrating with dangerous energy. Daniel knew one thing for sure. Whatever that device was, it wasn't meant for conversation. The intruder lunged. Daniel jumped sideways, feeling a burst of heat pass his arm. The device struck the wall behind him, burning a hole through the living material. The room screamed, a strange sound, like a wounded creature, as its surface recoiled from the damage. Daniel grabbed a fallen seat and swung it like a shield. The intruder hit it hard, and the impact sent both of them stumbling. Daniel fell back, rolling to avoid another strike. He grabbed one of the glowing branches from the crystal structure beside him. It was surprisingly strong, and held it like a staff. The intruder attacked again. Daniel blocked, sparks flying as the device hit the crystal branch. Daniel pushed back with all his strength, managing to shove the figure away. But the intruder was fast, too fast. It darted around him, trying to get past him toward the princess. Princess Leora whispered, "Daniel!" He turned, saw the intruder sprinting toward her hiding place, and threw himself forward. He collided with the intruder mid-run, slamming both of them into the floor. The device rolled away, humming dangerously. The intruder struggled beneath him. Daniel pinned the arms down, teeth clenched, muscles burning. He wasn't stronger, but humans were stubborn. And Daniel refused to let this attacker reach her. The intruder hissed in frustration, voice distorted. "Move, human! This does not concern you." Daniel glared. "It concerns me when someone threatens her." The intruder twisted violently, almost breaking free. Daniel tightened his grip. "Princess, call your guards!" She rose from behind the crystals, raising her hand to a glowing panel by the wall. The panel responded instantly, sending a bright pulse through the ship. But the intruder heard it. Desperate, the figure kneed Daniel hard in the side. Pain shot through him like fire, but he held on. Humans could take hits. Humans were built to endure. The intruder reached for a knife hidden in their suit. Daniel saw the flash of metal and grabbed the intruder's wrist just in time. They struggled, the blade inches from Daniel's throat. The intruder's strength was unnatural, almost enhanced. Daniel pushed with everything he had, muscles trembling. Princess Leora stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Daniel, hold on! Working on it!" he grunted. He forced the intruder's arm back, inch by inch, until finally the figure lost their grip on the weapon. The knife clattered to the floor. Daniel seized the moment and drove his shoulder into the intruder, pinning them more securely. Footsteps approached, fast. The door burst open. 3 Al-Ren guards stormed inside, their bodies glowing bright with defensive energy. They surrounded the intruder, pulling Daniel back carefully. "Is Her Highness safe?" one guard shouted. Princess Leora stepped forward. "He protected me," she said, pointing at Daniel. "He fought the intruder alone." The guards immediately formed a protective barrier around her while 2 restrained the saboteur. When they removed the mask, Daniel saw an alien species he did not recognize. Dark-skinned, sharp features, eyes that shifted colors like oil on water. One guard cursed softly. "A narrow infiltrator. They use stealth suits that hide them from our sensors," the intruder hissed. "You cannot stop what is coming." Daniel exhaled slowly, clutching his sore ribs. "I hate when bad guys say stuff like that." The guards looked confused, but Princess Leora almost smiled. Just a small twitch of amusement, even in this danger. As the guards dragged the intruder away, Princess Leora rushed to Daniel's side. "You are injured." "It's nothing," Daniel said, though every breath hurt. "You fought unarmed." "Against a trained killer." Her voice trembled, more with emotion than fear. "Why?" "Because you asked me to stay," he said simply. "And because someone had to stop them." Her silver blue eyes widened. She touched his arm gently. Her glow warmed, spreading like sunrise. "Human Daniel, I owe you more than thanks." Daniel shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." But she held his hand firmly. "Yes," she whispered, "I do." The guards bowed to him, a rare gesture usually reserved only for nobles. Even injured, Daniel stood tall, surprised by the respect he was shown. Princess Leora guided him toward a seat. "Rest. I will bring the royal healer." "You don't need to." "I insist," she said, voice soft but firm. As she stepped away, Daniel watched her, a feeling growing inside him that he couldn't explain. She trusted him more than her own guards. She asked him to stay near her when she was afraid. She whispered to him as if he were someone important in her life. He didn't know what all of this meant. But he knew one thing. The attack tonight was only the beginning. Someone wanted the princess gone. And now that Daniel had stopped the first strike, the next one might be even worse. Daniel sat in the healing chamber while the royal healer, a tall Alrin with glowing hands, moved around him. The healer touched his ribs gently, and a soft warmth spread through his side. It wasn't painful, more like dipping into warm water after a long day. Daniel felt the tightness in his muscles loosen slowly. "You humans break easily," the healer said in a calm voice. "But you also mend quickly. A strange balance." Daniel gave a tired smile. "We try our best." Princess Leora stood nearby, watching the treatment closely. Her silver blue eyes were sharp, full of worry. She hadn't left his side since the guards took the intruder away. Every time the healer pressed a bruise, she flinched as if she felt it too. When the healer finished, he bowed and left the room. Daniel slowly sat up, testing his ribs. They felt tender, but no longer burning with pain. Leora approached him at once. "How do you feel?" "Better," Daniel said. "Still sore, though." Her glow brightened with relief. "You were very brave." He chuckled softly. "You say brave, but I was mostly terrified." "Courage is not the absence of fear," she whispered. "It is choosing to act despite the fear." Daniel looked at her, surprised by the wisdom in her voice. She seemed more than just a princess. She seemed like someone carrying heavy knowledge, someone who had seen too much danger for her age. He tried to stand. Leora stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on his arm to help him. Her touch was warm and steady. "You should move slowly, Daniel." "I'll be fine," he insisted. "I've had worse." Her eyebrows rose slightly. "You humans live very strange lives." Daniel laughed. "You have no idea." As they walked out of the healing chamber, 2 guards followed them. Daniel noticed their posture, tense, alert, ready for anything. The ship felt different now. The lights seemed dimmer. The halls felt bigger and emptier. Every sound echoed like a warning. Leora spoke quietly as they moved. "Daniel, the intruder said something before they took him away. Something that troubled me." Daniel nodded. He said, "You can't stop what's coming. Real villain stuff." "Yes," she paused. "And he was Neral. Their empire is not known for mercy. If they sent an assassin aboard, then this is not an isolated threat." Daniel frowned. "So this is political?" "It is deeper than politics," she said. "The Neral have long opposed our alliance with the humans. They believe humans are unpredictable, dangerous, but they also fear us joining forces. For them, peace between our species is a threat." Daniel sighed. "Great. Intergalactic politics, just what I wanted on this mission. Leora almost smiled. Your humor is strange but comforting. They reached a wide, balcony-like area inside the ship. The Alren didn't build balconies like humans did. These were platforms grown from the walls, overlooking vast inner gardens and bioluminescent rivers that ran through the heart of the vessel. It looked like a forest of glowing life under starlight. Daniel leaned on the railing, still holding his side. "This place is beautiful," he said softly. "It is the Soul Garden," Leora explained. "A place where my people come to think, to remember who we are." Daniel watched small creatures float through the air like living lanterns. "Feels like a dream." Leora stood beside him, her glow reflecting off the gentle water below. She looked thoughtful, troubled. "Daniel, I have something to confess." He turned to her. "What is it?" She hesitated, staring at her hands. "I did not ask you to stay with me only because I was afraid. There is another reason." Daniel's heart thumped faster. "You can tell me." She looked up at him. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. "When you reached into the failing conduit, when you risked your life for people who are not your own, I felt something I have never felt before. My advisors said humans are impulsive, unreliable, emotional. But you did not act out of impulse. You acted out of heart." Daniel was quiet, unsure how to respond. "For my people, trusting someone outside our race is rare," she continued. "But I trust you, Daniel. Deeply." Daniel swallowed. He felt something heavy but warm in his chest. "I'm just doing what anyone would have done." She shook her head. "No, many would have run. Even some of my guards moved away, but you stepped forward." Daniel took a slow breath. "Okay. But what does that have to do with asking me to stay?" The princess's glow dimmed a little. She looked nervous. "There is an ancient tradition in my people's culture. When a member of the royal family senses danger they cannot face alone, they choose someone who brings them peace, someone who strengthens their spirit. They ask that person to remain by their side until the threat passes." Daniel blinked. "So you chose me?" "Yes," she whispered. "And that is rare, very rare." Daniel didn't know what to say. The weight of her words pressed into him like soft gravity. He felt honored, but also confused. Why him? Why a simple human engineer? Before he could respond, a guard rushed toward them. "Your Highness!" the guard shouted. "We have discovered something." Leora straightened. "What is it?" The guard held a small metallic shard. It pulsed with faint energy. "We found this near the breached entrance to your chamber. It is a narrow signal shard. They use it to send coded messages to their fleets." Daniel's eyes narrowed, meaning the intruder wasn't working alone. The guard nodded. "Yes, and the shard was still active. When we disabled it, it attempted to broadcast coordinates." Leora's voice grew firm. "Coordinates to what?" The guard bowed. "To your location." Daniel muttered a swear under his breath. So more assassins could be coming. Or worse, an attack ship. Leora looked at Daniel, her eyes full of fear, but also determination. "We must move to the inner core. It is the safest place on the vessel." Daniel nodded. "Then let's go." The guards formed a protective circle around them and began leading the way through the twisting halls. The ship vibrated faintly beneath their feet, as if feeling the tension inside it. Daniel kept close to Leora, ready for anything. He could sense her worry even without her saying a word. As they walked, she asked quietly, "Daniel, will you stay with me through this danger?" There was no hesitation in his voice. "Of course I will." Her glow warmed again, like a quiet sunrise. "Thank you." They reached the inner core entrance. It was guarded by heavy organic gates that opened like petals when Leora approached. Inside was a large circular chamber filled with flowing lights that drifted like living stars. The air was warm and thick with energy. "This is the heart chamber," Leora said. "The safest place on the ship." Daniel looked around, amazed. "It looks alive." "It is," she answered. "But it also listens. It reacts to those who stand within it." Daniel stepped closer to the center. The floating lights fluttered around him like curious insects. They felt warm and gentle, brushing against his skin without touching him. "It's incredible." Leora stood beside him, her glow merging with the drifting lights. "Daniel, there is one more thing you should know. This chamber amplifies emotions. Positive energy strengthens its shield, fear weakens it." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "So you brought me here to help power it?" "In a way," she said softly. "Your presence calms me. And when I am calm, the chamber becomes stronger." Daniel felt heat rise to his face. "You're giving me too much credit." She looked straight into his eyes. "No, I am giving you the exact amount you deserve." Before either of them could speak again, the ship suddenly shook. A violent tremor rippled through the chamber, knocking Daniel to one knee. The lights flickered, turning red. An alarm echoed through the ship, deep, urgent, unlike anything he had heard before. The guards rushed to the entrance. "Your Highness, we are under attack!" Daniel's heart pounded. "Who is it?" the guard shouted. "A narrow strike ship just dropped out of warp behind us. They fired on our engines." Leora gasped. "They are trying to board us." Daniel stood, steadying himself. "They're coming for you." She grabbed his hand tightly. "Daniel, I am afraid." He squeezed her hand back. "I'm here. I won't leave." Another violent impact rocked the ship. The lights dimmed. A low groan echoed through the walls like the vessel was crying out. Leora whispered, "The heart chamber will protect us, but only if we are strong together." Daniel took a breath. "Then let's be strong." Outside, the ship shook again. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. The intruders were coming, and this time they weren't sending just one assassin. They were sending an army. The heart chamber trembled again as another impact shook the ship. Daniel steadied himself, holding Princess Leora's hand while the glowing lights around them grew dim and unsteady. The soft pulses of energy that usually drifted like fireflies now flickered in alarm, reacting to the danger closing in from the outer halls. Outside the chamber, the sound of running footsteps echoed, sharp, heavy, and fast. The guards at the entrance held their weapons tight, their bodies glowing with defensive energy. Daniel could feel their tension like electricity in the air. Princess Leora stayed close to him. Her breathing was quick, and her glow fluttered like a candle in wind. "They are breaking through our ship," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "Then we stand our ground." He didn't have a weapon. He wasn't trained like the Alren warriors, but he had something else: determination, stubbornness, and the will to protect someone who trusted him deeply. A loud bang echoed through the hallway. The guards stiffened. Then a blast of dark energy slammed against the entrance, sending a ripple of shock through the living walls. The gate held, but cracks of dim light ran across its surface. "They are using neural shock lances," one guard said urgently. "They will breach the gate in moments." Princess Leora's fingers tightened around Daniel's hand. "Daniel, if they reach me—" "They won't," he said firmly. "Not while I'm breathing." Another explosion. This time the gate began to peel open like wounded petals. A hiss of cold air rushed into the chamber. The floating lights dimmed in fear. The guards formed a protective shield around Leora and Daniel. Their bodies glowed bright as they raised their arms. "Your Highness, stay behind us." The gate split open entirely. Narrow soldiers stormed in. Daniel had seen many alien species in his travels, but the Narrow warriors were different. Their armor shimmered like liquid metal, dark and shifting. Their eyes glowed faintly, and strange symbols pulsed along their suits. They moved as one unit, silent and deadly. The first wave charged. The guards clashed with them in a burst of light and steel. The quiet chamber erupted into chaos. Shouts, blasts of energy, glowing sparks scattering across the floor. Daniel grabbed Princess Leora and pulled her behind a curved crystal barrier. Leora looked terrified. "There are too many," she whispered. Daniel peeked over the barrier. She was right. More Neral soldiers pushed in, overwhelming the guards. The Alren fought bravely, their bodies glowing like bright lanterns, but they were outnumbered. The Neral came with precision, strikes that landed exactly where they needed, movements trained and merciless. "We need to help them," Daniel said. Leora shook her head. "You are injured. You cannot fight." He gave a weak grin. "I've had worse." "You humans say that far too often," she said, voice shaking. But Daniel was already searching the floor for something he could use. His hand brushed against a fallen Alren spear, a long staff made of glowing metal, humming softly with energy. He picked it up. The weapon vibrated in his hand like a living branch. Leora stared. "It will respond to your emotions, Daniel. Be careful. Human feelings are strong." "Good," he said. "We need strong." Before she could stop him, Daniel rose from cover. The spear glowed brighter as he stepped into the fray. The Neral soldiers noticed him immediately, the only human in sight. Two of them rushed toward him. Daniel swung the spear with both hands, blocking their strikes. The weapon reacted to his fear, his determination, his instinct. It pulsed with light, pushing back the attackers. He struck one soldier in the chest, sending him sliding across the chamber floor. Another swung at him, but Daniel ducked and hit back hard. The glowing staff cracked against the Neral armor, making sparks fly. Princess Leora watched with stunned eyes. "Daniel, the chamber is amplifying you." Daniel felt it too. Every heartbeat made the spear glow brighter. Every breath gave him strength he didn't know he had. He wasn't a trained warrior, but he was human, and humans had a way of pushing beyond limits when everything was at stake. The Neral soldiers turned their attention toward him now, sensing the threat he posed. 3 came at him at once. Daniel spun the spear in a wide arc, blocking one attack and throwing another off balance. The third soldier leaped at him, but Daniel slammed the spear into the ground. A burst of light shot upward, knocking the attacker back. The chamber responded to his will. Princess Leora stepped forward, her glow rising again. "Daniel, behind you!" He turned just in time. A soldier aimed a shock lance at him. Daniel raised the spear, and the light flowed into it, forming a bright shield that deflected the blast. The guard nearest him gasped. "Impossible! Humans should not be able to do that." Daniel didn't have time to answer. The fight continued. Guards fell one by one. The Neral pushed deeper. Daniel fought harder, sweat dripping from his face, breath heavy, but his grip didn't loosen. Princess Leora moved closer to him, her glow brightening. "The heart chamber reads your courage," she whispered. "It is using your will to strengthen itself." Daniel grinned between breaths. "Then let's show them what humans can do." A sudden scream echoed from the other side of the chamber. A powerful Neral commander entered, taller, heavily armored, carrying a long blade that pulsed with dark energy. The room seemed to darken at his presence. The commander pointed the blade at Princess Leora. "Surrender the heir." Daniel stepped in front of her. "You want her? You'll have to go through me." The commander tilted his head. "A human? You stand in my path?" Daniel raised the spear. "Yeah, and I'm not moving." The commander charged. Daniel barely had time to react. Their weapons clashed with a shock wave that rattled the chamber. The force pushed Daniel back several steps. His ribs throbbed painfully, but he tightened his grip. They exchanged strike after strike. The commander was skilled, fast, and precise. Daniel blocked one blow, dodged another, and countered with a sweeping strike. The spear glowed brighter each time it touched the commander's blade. Princess Leora watched in fear and awe. The glowing lights of the chamber gathered around Daniel, swirling like stars drawn to his courage. "Daniel!" she cried. "Be careful!" "I'm trying!" he shouted back as he blocked another powerful strike. The commander raised his blade for a final blow. "Humans are weak!" Daniel pushed forward with everything he had. "Humans survive!" He slammed the spear into the floor again, sending a shockwave of bright energy rippling outward. The wave hit the commander hard, lifting him off his feet and throwing him across the chamber. He hit the wall and collapsed, his armor cracking. The remaining narrow soldiers froze, shocked. The heart chamber glowed bright, so bright the entire room looked like a rising sun. The narrows stared at Daniel with fear in their eyes. "He wields the heart," one soldier whispered. Another dropped his weapon. "Retreat!" The commander struggled to stand but failed. His soldiers grabbed him and pulled back toward the broken gate. They fled fast, disappearing into the hallway as alarms echoed through the ship. Silence followed, a heavy, shaking silence. Daniel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Sweat covered his face. His arms trembled. The spear dimmed slowly as the danger faded. Princess Leora rushed to his side. "Daniel! Daniel, can you hear me?" He nodded weakly. "Yeah, just tired." "You did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You saved us. You saved me." Daniel managed a small smile. "Good, because I didn't want to start over with another princess." She laughed softly, a sound filled with relief. Her glow warmed again, gentle and steady. She helped him stand, supporting his weight carefully. Guards who had survived approached and bowed deeply to him. "Human Daniel," one said, "you have earned the honor of the Al Ren. We owe you our lives." Daniel shook his head. "I just did what I could." Leora faced him, her eyes soft. "No, Daniel, you did far more than that. You fought when you had every reason to run. You stood beside me when even my guards failed." She paused, her voice trembling. "You showed me what humans truly are." Daniel looked at her, breath still unsteady. "And what's that?" She smiled. "Unbreakable." The heart chamber glowed softly around them, reacting to the calm returning to the ship. The lights floated gently again, drifting like peaceful stars. Daniel felt Leora's hand slip into his. "Daniel," she whispered, "you stayed with me until the threat passed. You kept your promise. And, I wish for you to stay longer. Not because of danger, but because your presence brings me peace." Daniel felt warmth spread in his chest. "If you want me here, then I'll stay." Her eyes shone with quiet joy. "I want that more than you know." Outside the chamber, the ship began repairs. The threat was gone. The danger had passed. But the bond between a human and an alien princess had only just begun.